I've been doing all this 2023 wrap-up stuff, and I thought, hey, let's go ahead and talk about some 2024. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another TBR, this time for January of 2024, the 1-year anniversary of since you guys convinced me to take these monthly. And I gotta say thank you guys. It's been a great idea because it's helped me from having to do so many revisions to my TBR. When I did them a quarter at a time, things would come on, things would come off, and it would be just a big mess. So I'm glad that you guys did convince me to do it this way. I think it has been for the better. But, we are here a couple of days away from the beginning of a new year. What's going to be really different this year is I always have planned my TBR 12, 15 months in advance. I work in risk analysis. That's just kind of how we do stuff with forecasting. So with this, it was like, okay, I've got something new going on this year so I don't have that thing where I'll say, I'm going to do this series. I'm going to do one book a month for this many months. And then you read book one, you don't like it. Or you read book two and you're like, I don't think this series is for me. So with this I have several new series I'm going to be starting in 2024. And a lot of them is just going to depend on how book one goes for me. So with that, I can say I'm only planning ahead 1 month at a time, and I'm getting anxiety over it. So it is something very new to me. So this is going to be the first of those. So let's go ahead and talk about January in 2024 and what I plan to read. Now, I always kind of give a quick little disclaimer here. I am going to be reading the back synopsis of the books. So if you feel like it's going to be spoilery for you, I warn you, hey, maybe skip to the next book. I'm going to use timestamps so you can kind of skip to the next book if you want to. But, I have proofread these and felt like, okay, that's nothing that's going to break the series for you out of context if you haven't started it. But I'm going to be talking about a couple of sequels, so I just wanted to give that warning here. And speaking of sequels, let's begin with the first book that I plan to read as soon as the calendar does kind of cross over, maybe a little bit before. Assassin's Fate by Ms. Robin Hobb, the first lady of epic fantasy, guys. It has been a 2+ year journey for me here on the channel, but I finally have reached the end of Realm of the Elderlings. I'm reading Fool's Quest right now. I'm doing like I did with The Expanse. I'm going to finish Fool's Quest and then go straight into Assassin's Fate. I want to read these last two books together. Now, I haven't got too far in Fool's Quest yet, but I feel like, okay, I'm on vacation the rest of the week. Christmas is over, and I feel like I might actually finish a couple of days before the new year, and then I would start this immediately. But so I'm not going to be like, okay, I can't start reading this till January 1st. We're not like that. But I do think I might get to it a little early. And I've had some people be like, oh, it's actually not the end. Look, you're going to do this big victory lap and parade about how this is the last book in the series. I'm treating it as the last book in the series. I'm not saying I won't read anything new that she writes in this world. I'm just saying, yes, this is the end for me. The actual foreword in the book talks about this being the end of the series, and I'm going to treat it that way for now. But I have had a blast reading Realm of the Elderlings this year. The highs and the lows, and there are both. But I'm very excited that I've come to the final battle, as it were, and I'm so excited. But Assassin's Fate, guys, what is this book about? Now, someone close to Fitz has been kidnapped by the Servants, a secret society whose members not only dream of possible futures, but use their prophecies to add to their wealth and influence. The abducted plays a crucial part in these dreams, but just what part remains uncertain. Fitz and the Fool embark on a mission of revenge that will take them to the distant island where the Servants reside. A place the Fool once called home, and later called prison. It was a hell the Fool escaped, maimed and blinded, swearing never to return. For all his injuries, however, the Fool is not as helpless as he seems. He is a dreamer too, able to shape the future. And though Fitz is no longer the peerless assassin of his youth, he remains a man to be reckoned with, an adept in farseer magic. And their goal is simple: to make sure not a single servant survives their scourge. I've been talking about, guys, this last one here sounds like if you've been waiting for the assassin that is listed all over these books, I think you're finally going to get some assassinating in this book, and I'm excited to see, kind of Fitz without playing by the rules. I think he's going to go a little revenge tour in this book. And I'm excited for it because I felt like the buildup has been worth it. There's been some stuff, that Fitz has had to do some dark things, I think, through this series. But this kind of seeing him just kind of, like I said, kind of off the books. We're going to kind of go off the grid a little bit and get a little nasty, because we feel like our opponents have gotten a little nasty. Sometimes you got to fight dirty. and I'm here to finally see it. So yeah, it's going to be a little bittersweet, much like it was with The Expanse. I think I'm glad I didn't decide to end both of these series at the same time. I don't know, that might have been too much of emotional baggage for me to handle at once, because the end of The Expanse, I was very, very satisfied with it. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to feel the same about this. Too many people that I trust just are all up in their feelings about how this series ends. And I want to experience that. That's the whole reason, I put the gas pedal down on getting to the series, because I saw the emotional reaction that one of my best friends had to the end of the series, and I want to see that too. I'm very excited to hopefully get that same emotional reaction. So it's been a hell of a journey, and it's that point where you start to feel sad because you know that the journey is coming to an end. I feel like you've been growing up with this character over many, many decades, and it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet, but I am happy to be reaching the end. Now, the big daddy, it's no secret that I'm reading this in January, guys, is going to be *𝕐𝕠𝕠𝕠𝕜 by James Clavell. Is that upside down? No, that's not upside down. It looked like it was upside down. This book here obviously was like *Lonesome Dove on my bucket list. I always kind of put it to the side because I said, look at it. It's just way too intimidating. Now, I'm not opposed to long books, big boys, because, we're fantasy readers, for most of the part. Most of us here are fantasy readers. And we read books that are just way too heavy all the time. But with this one, it was just something different. I was like, I'm not crazy about historical fiction, but I think after the great time I had with *Lonesome Dove, I said, you know what? Why not? Let's do *Shogun* next year. Now, here's the catch with this, guys, is I'm only going to be doing part 1 and part 2 in January. Now, I know that's going to frustrate some people, but guys, that's how long it is for part 1 and 2. It's a 1,300-page hardcover, and if I said I'm going to read this in January, I'd be reading nothing else. This would be the shortest TBR video ever. I want to be able to read other things in January as well. Now, the new adaptation is coming out on FX, and I said that's why I went ahead and moved this up. So I think January, February, March, doing all 6 parts of this book would be the best way to do it, because the series premieres at the end of February, and it's a weekly drop. It's not a full series drop, and I felt like that'd be the best way to do it. So if anybody's planning to read with me, and you're a little intimidated by that, hey, cool, you can do like me. You can break it up into 3 parts. I feel like that's the best way to kind of do it. But if you're one of those people who's like, I can't do that, to me, I'm going to treat it like a trilogy, because I think this book is long enough to do that. And I've watched the miniseries, because I kind of know how the breakups happen. And I feel like that's the best way to probably do this. So again, if you feel like you can't do that, I understand. But the reason that I'm doing it that way, I don't want to feel rushed. I don't want to feel like I've got to just hurry up and get through this book that has a legacy that's like even bigger than it is, So I'm excited to finally do it. The miniseries was amazing. I loved it. And I'm sure that it was a faithful adaptation from what I've heard, and it's going to be even better to actually read it, just like it was with *Lonesome Dove*. I watched that miniseries first, and then I loved the book even more. So I'm excited to finally not only get this off my bucket list, but anytime you can kind of dip into a book that has a following and a reputation as grand as this one is, I think it's going to be a fun time. So again, if you're upset that I'm breaking it into 3 parts, I apologize for that. But that's just like I said, that's the best I think for where I feel like I can space it out and not feel like I'm rushing the book. And also I can pick up other things in the month of January. But in case you don't know what *Shogun* is about, well, after Englishman John Blackthorne is lost at sea, he awakens in a place few Europeans know of and have never seen, Nippon. Thrust into the closed society that is 17th century Japan, a land where the line between life and death is razor thin, Blackthorne must negotiate not only a foreign people with unknown customs and language, but also his own definitions of morality, truth, and freedom. As internal political strife and a clash of cultures lead to seemingly inevitable conflict, Blackthorne's loyalty and strength of character are tested by both passion and loss, and he is torn between 2 worlds that will be forever changed. Guys, I am so excited about this. That FX adaptation looks amazing. Some of the cast in there are some of my favorite actors that are working in television and film. It looks epic, guys. Go watch that YouTube trailer if you haven't yet, because the trailer looks incredible. And I feel like FX, as far as like, you're not talking about one of the premium cable channels, I feel like they always do a pretty damn good job. And it looks like, as John Hammond would say, they spared no expense. So it looks very, very expensive, and it looks very, very faithful. And that's what I was worried about. But it looks really, really awesome. I know the people that are in charge of doing the show do love Clavell's book here. Now, I already had this book on my list to read in 2024. I just moved it up a little bit because in anticipation for that TV series, because I would like to read it before the show does start. Even though I have watched the miniseries, that's okay. I feel like this is the best way to do it. So if any of you want to join me, I think breaking it into, 400, 500 page sections like this over the next 3 months. I think that's a great way to do it. I believe Alan over at Library, Alan Zandria, I believe he did it that way. And it seemed to be very, very successful doing it that way. And after that, guys, I'll be moving on to one I don't have a physical of. I've got this one on digital. I am 1-1 when it comes to Cormac McCarthy. I think the road is one of the best, like dystopian, post-apocalyptic, wherever you want to kind of fall in. People argue over what that's actually classified as, but it's one of the best in that little subgenre there. The Road is just an incredible, incredible book. I talked about it at length on the channel, why I thought it was just amazing. And, we lost him this past year, and I said, I want to try some more from Cormac McCarthy because I didn't really care for Blood Meridian. I kind of want to see which way I go. Which way do I fall on Cormac McCarthy? And so many people, when I told them what I didn't really like about Blood Meridian, they said, it sounds like the Border Trilogy would be a little bit more of what you're looking for. And so people on the Discord are going to be doing All the Pretty Horses in January. So I said that I would join them for that read through. So All the Pretty Horses does sound a little bit more like what I was expecting. I believe it's like a coming of age tale, and I am always a sucker for that. But, kind of that feeling of, when the cowboy way was kind of expired, what we would have known as the cowboy way at that time, it was kind of running out. And it was time to kind of broaden your horizons and maybe move on to the next stage of life. And when you're in a family where, that's all that you've ever done in your family, trying to find something new to branch out and do, when it's been kind of a family-run operation for 100 years, you're the first to do that. That's a tough hand that you've been dealt, but seeing how that's kind of gone through. Now, that's not actually what it's about. I apologize. That's just kind of the way that it was sold to me, and that sounds very good. But what does the synopsis say for All the Pretty Horses? The tale of John Grady Cole, who at 16 finds himself at the end of a long line of Texas ranchers. Cut off from the only life he has ever imagined for himself, with 2 companions, he sets off for Mexico on a sometimes idyllic, sometimes comic journey to a place where dreams are paid for in blood. So yes, very, very, not very detailed on what that description is there, but that's okay. That's okay. That's why I said I feel like people that were selling it to me, they did a good job if that is actually what it's about. So if you've read it and you're like, that's not what that book's about, I'm just going off of what I've heard secondhand. But yeah, this definitely sounds like maybe a little bit more of what I was looking for. And I never want to turn this out because I know people love Blood Meridian, and I know it's like the clutch the pearls thing. When I say I don't like it, people just, I can't take your opinion seriously anymore. I get it. But, I'll always be honest, but I'm excited about this one. I feel like this is going to be something that I like more because punctuation gripes aside, I've never had a problem with Cormac McCarthy's writing style. Just some characters in Blood Meridian didn't work for me, but whereas The Road, I think that's just amazing. So I'm expecting a little bit more of The Road, I think, in this, and I'm hopeful. I'm really, really excited. And if I like that book, I will continue with the Border Trilogy into February. Last one, guys, and again, I just want to say sorry if you guys don't like the way that I'm kind of breaking some of these books up. I just feel like it's the best way to make sure that I'm giving Shogun the attention it deserves, but I'm going to be breaking up Blackwater as well. Now, Blackwater by Michael McDowell, this is one that I had planned to read Volume 1, because it's 6 volumes in here. This is how long Volume 1 is, by the way. So what this is this was the influence for The Green Mile by Stephen King and why he released it serialized, 6 different volumes. This was his inspiration for that. So I said, why don't I do like that? Why don't I read 1 volume per month over the next 6 months, just like The Green Mile did? I thought that was a neat idea. So these are short enough that I feel like this can be something that's not any pressure or anything like that. I can fill this in. And also I said I want to kind of work a little bit of horror into the schedule on the regular instead of saving it all for October. So I'll be doing Volume 1 of this, which is called The Flood, in January. And this is a story I have been, just Stephen King fans have been harping on me for a while to read this. And it was someone on my Discord, Baba, recently read it, and he was just all about like, Mike, how have you not read this yet? So it's just one of those, I think it just kind of takes place, it's coming of age, but it takes place through the years of this family. It's like a family drama that takes place over like half a century, I believe. And it's got lots of creepies and crawlies, but I think it's one of those things where you've got the scary stuff, but it's not really talked about as a horror book because it's all the more about the people within that horror story and their relationships with one another, like a Stephen King would do. So the fact that this is so influential to King, obviously, that's going to get on my radar. But it's just that so many people have just kind of just been crazy about making sure I've read this. They want to know why I haven't read it yet. But Volume 1, The Flood. Now, what is that about? ℓ𝕤𝕤 Dammerd's arrival will forever change the town of ℓ𝕤𝕤 and the wealthy and powerful Caskey family. James dotes on ℓ𝕤𝕤 like a second daughter. Sister pines for ℓ𝕤𝕤's strength and independence. Oscar loves ℓ𝕤𝕤 and determines to build a life with her. And matriarch Mary Love has an inkling of ℓ𝕤𝕤's true power and purpose. But for ℓ𝕤𝕤 is more than she appears, and she brings to ℓ𝕤𝕤 and to the Caskeys a deadly, inexplicable otherness from which no one can ever be safe. And so many things about this sound and feel familiar. And I think maybe it's because I've read so much Lovecraft whenever you're dealing with like, hey, look what the flood washed up, things like that. But I think about that book, The Fisherman, by John Langdon, which I wasn't nuts about, but what I really liked was the beginning parts and the end parts of that story, like the real-time story, not the flashback. And I feel like I get kind of similar vibes off of that. And I don't know if that's anything true at all. That's just kind of the vibes I get. So the parts of that book that I liked, it sounds like there's some of that wrapped in here about, what, stranger comes to town right after this flood. And I don't know. Looks like there might be something coming out of the water. Put one and one together there, right? So again, a family drama wrapped around all that. That sounds very Kingish to me. And I think reading it in the 6 parts is going to be very, very cool. And I hope it has some horror. I hope it's not one of those I read and I'm like, I don't know why this was called a horror book at all. Why it was under that section in the bookstore. But it is. And I think that some people just, when they want horror, they just want, violence. They want something just super, super scary. And sometimes it's the dread and what's going on, with your family that can make things really, really scary. So that's the type of horror that I like. A little bit of dread in there. And you maybe throw some tentacles. I don't know if there's tentacles at all. But like I said, you deal with flood washing up something. That's always what I'm going to kind of fall back to as a reader of H.P. Lovecraft. But guys, that's really all that I have this month, except, I'm not going to give you the synopsis again because I did it last month. I still will be reading Voice of War by Zach Argyle. That's book 1 of Threadlight when that Kickstarter edition does eventually show up. It's supposed to show up here in January. And when I do get it in my hand, I will definitely be reading it as long as I'm not in the middle of Shogun at that time. But I will be reading Voice of War when I do get that Kickstarter edition in the mail. So if you want to know the synopsis of that, go back and watch my December TBR because that was the original plan. It just didn't get here on time. I'll probably be getting into Trials of Empire by Richard Swan when I have a chance with this. Again, these are some big books this month if I get to it. If not, I'll probably be reading Trials of Empire closer to release date in February. But obviously, that's the conclusion of The Empire of the Wolf, so I want to make sure that I do get that one read. A lot of people are going to ask about One Piece. Am I going to be continuing with One Piece? Here's the thing. I'm about to finish up Arabasta, and I know that leads into Jaya and Skypiea arcs. So stuff that people are really, really crazy about. The Sky Island saga, I think it's called. This is one that even my kid has been like, are you to Skypiea yet? He wants to talk to me about this. And here's the deal. Is I think I'm going to be putting a pause on it. And that's not because I'm not enjoying it. I am. I'm very much enjoying One Piece. We have a collaboration coming up. A lot of people have been saying, hey, you need to collaborate with Murphy. Maybe you can get Philip to read this. Well, guys, I don't know if I'm really supposed to be announcing this yet because we've kind of worked it out together, but we haven't actually made anything solidly official yet. So I might be going and editing this out. I don't know yet. I don't know. I'll ask Philip after I finish this. But yes, there will be a collaboration because Philip is going to be starting One Piece in January, and we are going to be kind of floating between our channels. I think we'll be hosting like a just kind of a wrap up each arc that we get through. We'll have one on my channel, and then we'll have one on Philip's channel, and then when we're done with that entire saga, we're going to have a joint collaboration over on Murphy Napier's manga channel. So it's very exciting for me anytime I get a chance to work with Philip, who is like one of my best friends on BookTube. He's a really, really great guy. I mean, I think anyone that's talked to Philip absolutely loves him because he's just a true, kind soul. It's very, very hard to find that in the world, especially on the internet. And then again, anytime I can do anything with Murphy, it's just like an amazing thing to me because, when I was first learning about BookTube, her channel was obviously like the gold standard, right? And getting a chance to go over there and talk with her. Because it's funny, we talked in March, And we had said, at that time, I was like, I still have no interest in One Piece. And now I might be going on her channel to talk about One Piece. That's very, very fun. Very, very fun for me. So that's why we'll probably be putting a quick little pause on that, because Philip has to catch up with me, and I'll be 24 volumes in at that point. And I don't want to get to the point where I'm like just waiting for Philip to catch up, because that's not fun for anybody. Philip and I have been reading ℓ𝕤𝕣𝕠𝕜𝕤 together this year, and our text messages and stuff have been a lot of fun reading that together. So I think reading One Piece with Philip at the same time would be ideal. So that's why I might be putting a little pause into it there, as much as my 11-year-old will be very, very upset to hear about this, because apparently Skypiea is just the end-all be-all. I'm excited to find out. I think waiting to talk with Philip about that as it happens will be a lot more fun that way. So guys, that's what I have planned for the month of January. A little lighter in number, but not in page count, because I think that Shogun's just quite a beast, So guys, will you be reading any of these? I'd love to have you along. Again, I know kind of breaking up 2 of these books into multi-month segments probably isn't the best plan for some people, but for me, I think back to when I arranged the Malazan read-along, and I had originally had it done for 2 years, and I let people kind of sweet talk me into speeding up that schedule, and then everybody flamed out because they couldn't keep up. So with this, I feel like this is the best way to make sure no one gets burned out. No one feels like they have to finish a 1,300-page hardcover in a month if they want to read along, myself included. I feel like that's the best way to do it. So I'd love to have you along if you want to do any of these. If you don't even want to do this crazy schedule, I'd love to talk to you, after I finish it. If you've already finished it and stuff, that'd be great. Otherwise, what do you got planned to read in January? I would love to hear about it. So I want you to go ahead and drop in the comments, guys, and let me know, and I will talk to you there.